Welcome back. Today in our Sunday Spotlight, Hartford Police Chief Jason Thody. After nearly 30 years serving the people of Hartford, 5 of them as chief, he recently announced he'll be retiring. Chief Thody is here with us today. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with, you're still chief right now. Tell me about the process. What's going to be happening in the coming days?
Yes. So,
or months, I guess.
My contract ended beginning of March, and opted not to renew. Another 4 years, I think, was not in the cards for me. The department's in a good place to transition. But in conversations with the mayor, love the department, love the city, and love where it's at right now. So didn't want to just walk away. So I agreed to stay on for a period of time while the mayor does a process to find a new chief, and then also stay on to help that new chief settle into the role.
And it's a big job with a lot of moving parts, a lot of men and women who work underneath you. And you said you don't want to leave on a Friday and have the new guy start on a Monday and leave him a note on the desk or something. But as you look at that transition, and we don't know to whom, obviously, what are some of your goals in that process?
Yeah, like I said, the department, really has gotten itself to a great place. Being accredited for the first time, both state and national accreditation. A lot of people didn't think we'd be able to do that. Being able to see that through from beginning to end was great. Crime we've really had an impact on crime, and that comes from a lot of places. The hard work and dedication of the men and women of the police department, our community partners, the city, and things like the reentry center and the hospital-based violence intervention. But we're really starting to see those programs take hold, and we're starting to see crime at historic lows. So we also have a lot of talent within the department. I hope very much that one of the folks within the department is going to be the one suited and selected and earns the confidence of the community to take this role. But the department is in a good place to pass that baton. So I'm hoping to be able to help that process so it doesn't skip a beat and keeps moving in the right direction.
Talk to me about those crime numbers, because if you were to just read the headlines, you might not think that if you didn't look at the numbers the way you look at them. And I know you've told me in the past, one important number for you is the number of shootings as compared to murders, but shootings where someone does not die. Yep. Because that's a good indication when that number comes down, and you've been happy with that number, right?
Happy is a stretch. I'd be happy with 0. But watching those numbers trend, we saw an increase in violent crime, and especially shootings with the pandemic and right after the pandemic. But last year we saw under 100 shooting victims, nonviolent shooting victims, which is the first time we've seen that in a decade. So that's compared to pre-pandemic numbers. Those numbers are trending in the right direction. We want to drive them as low as we can. There's still more work to be done. But as we've talked about in the past, we focused on the non-fatal shooting team and solvability rates of non-fatals. Everyone focuses on the solvability rates of homicides, but when you have 20 to 30 homicides a year, but sometimes 100, 120, 130 non-fatals, those are sometimes just how fast someone can get to the ER. That's the difference between a homicide and non-fatal. So we really focused on those non-fatal numbers, so to see those go down is very encouraging. I think this year the only number that's up is auto theft, and that really is the Kia Hyundai issue with the juveniles. But all the other numbers, have gone in the right direction, and it's really been, we saw some legislative changes at the end of last year with the, with the repeat offenders for gun violence and stuff that have really helped.
At the same time, we've seen a couple of communities in your city decide to, maybe just on several occasions for publicity, but decide to have armed citizen patrols. Cornell Lewis leading that charge, saying that we need to be out here and take back our streets. Was that something you didn't expect, and what was your reaction to it?
We do see that. I mean, like I said, it's easy for me to look at the numbers, and living in the city, for the last 5 years or so, every shooting has an impact. So when there is a shooting or a homicide that triggers a community to take action, you understand that even though the numbers are lower than they've been in the past, it's a reaction. And I've worked with Cornell Lewis before. I think all these groups and all these folks are well intended, but I've made it clear bringing more guns to a violence, especially a gun violence problem, is not the answer. And you know, these folks are not trained in the way that law enforcement is, and I think it makes a dangerous situation more dangerous. Now, there are a lot of ways that people can be helpful with, you know, with in a non-armed way, from neighborhood watches to, you know, Mothers United Against Violence have been out there helping us for years, and I'd rather see folks take a page out of that book.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your time as chief. Obviously, something every chief knows they might have to deal with, but you lost an officer. You lost Detective Bobby Garten during your time as chief. Is that something that, you know, you still have to think about every day? Every day.
You know, we lost, the previous officer that we lost in the line of duty happened about 2 months before I got hired 28 years ago. And, you know, I could have definitely done without that happening while I was with the department, let alone being the chief. And having worked with his dad, made it all the harder for me because there was familiarity there. Every day, I think every member of the police department thinks about that and thinks about Bobby. We were earlier this week. We were at the Yard Goats. They dedicated opening day to him, which was great. You know, his nephew got to sing the national anthem. A lot of support, community support to honor him, but still, it's hard every day.
You were the chief during the George Floyd, during COVID, during a lot of stuff. We only have about 30 seconds left. What will you take away from this experience? Yeah, some challenges. You know, COVID, there was no book about that. You know, figuring out how to provide services in a time that was so uncertain and so dangerous. And then, you know, George Floyd happening. But 199 protests in that first 9 months or so. We made 2 arrests. I think the department stepped up and did a great job. You know, they have met every challenge. This department has met every challenge that's come its way, and I'm proud to have led them. Well, and you'll still be there for a little bit longer as your successor is named and help him him or her into the position. We appreciate you being here. Congrats on your soon-to-be retirement. Jason Thody, thanks for being with us. Thank you. That is CT24 for this week. CBS Sunday Morning, of course, is coming up next. We'll meet you back here in Studio A, as always, next Sunday morning.